Gavin Petersen, head coach at Utah Women's Basketball, here to join us. A lot to discuss. It's been a really interesting year over there, and it's just beginning. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. Happy 2025 to you. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. You guys keep showing up for us, over 300,000 of you listening in December alone, the way we show up for you 6 days a week on the past, present, and future of women's basketball. Of course, it is not just me. It is the incredible team across the board at thenexthoops.com. We have over 100 reported pieces every single month. Go ahead and sign up. You get them all in your inbox. $9 a month, $72 a year at thenexthoops.com. And if we have a bias in our coverage, I would say it's towards some of the more innovative, some of the brainier programs, some of the programs that are doing it a little bit differently. And so as a result, we've really enjoyed covering the Utah Utes through the tenure of Lynne Roberts. We now get to cover Lynne, of course, with the Los Angeles Sparks, but Gavin Petersen has been a critical part of this program as well. Now the head coach. And Coach, I'm delighted to get the chance to chat with you. I guess the place I want to start here in segment one is kind of take me through what this transition has been like from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's been really busy. A lot of new coming at you. I think the biggest, blessing in disguise was that first week of the change. We had 2 games at home right away. Then we went to the Cayman Islands for 2 games there. And then we came back for 2 more games. So it really was, okay, let's just get everybody involved in terms of our coaching staff. We were a coach short for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, let's just get everything let's get all on the same page. There's not much that's going to change, if at all. A little nuances here and there. And then let's just get through these games, pour into our kids, and get them ready to, take on the opponents at hand. And that we were able to do that, kind of got some momentum built. And then we're able to add somebody into that coaching vacancy position. And then now I feel like we're kind of settling in and we're getting into kind of our normal routine, if you can say that, as we enter Big 12 play.
It's fascinating. You say the normal routine as we enter Big 12 play, but like every part of that is strange. The fact that Utah is in the Big 12 is something I'm still getting my mind around before you get into an in-season coaching change. I know, we've had Lynne on the podcast since she moved to LA. This is, of course, part of the business. You've been with her for a long time and working together. Certainly there's a lot to do when there's this change, especially in season, but how gratifying was it for you personally to see her also get this opportunity? And more generally, there's a respect and understanding in the WNBA and a financial respect and understanding in the WNBA that coaches who do what she does, who do what you do, deserve these opportunities.
Yeah, I was fired up for her. I still remember her pulling me into her office and letting me know. She's like, okay, sit down. This is going to blow your mind. And she told me, and I got off the couch and gave her a big hug. And I was like, oh my God, that is effing awesome. Like, I'm so happy for you. I'm pumped up for you. And then I sat down and I'm like, okay, now what does that mean for us? Like our program here at Utah, are you finishing
Right.
here? I had all these, your head starts to spin and you have a lot of unknown. So, for me, I knew what I went through immediately. And then we had discussed, and she said, our administration wants to talk to you. And, I have a feeling that they're going to want you to take over. Now, taking over comes in all different type of forms.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching tag, a short-term contract. I was blessed. I was humbled when I met with our athletic director, Mark Harlan, and our chief operating officer, Charmel Green. And they basically told me, this is a no-brainer. We've been watching you, not only grow, but kind of take on these leadership roles in which Lynne has put you in, and you're ready for it. You're our guy. And so that was a huge moment where I'm just like, wow, like just gratifying to know that all the hard work that you've done over the years, when you're just focusing on making your boss look good, doing it for the kids, it's just, all the behind the scene hours that you put in. I was now rewarded with the responsibility and the opportunity to be the head coach here at the University of Utah. So yeah, I was stoked for Lynne, and then, man, it was a win-win for both of us. And so what better way to both kind of go on to our new journeys, but, kind of always a phone call away. And
Right.
that's what I love about Lynne. She's been there. I've been by her side for 12 years, and that's not going to change. I consider her family. And like I said, phone call away.
I mean, for the people who don't know, you worked with her prior to even Utah, University of the Pacific, and you have had stops and success everywhere you've gone. Idaho, Idaho State, and Hawaii, and so in so many ways, you've done this work to prepare for the moment.
Mm.
I'm betting when you got out of school that you didn't conceive of this is the direction, this is where I was going to end up, and I'm wondering when this became clearly the career path for you.
Yeah, it was in graduate school. After I graduated from Hawaii Pacific University, I still wanted to be around the game. Some of my best friends were on the Rainbow Wahine basketball team at the University of Hawaii, and back then, a lot of times in the summer, players went home. They went back to the continental U.S., went back to Australia, wherever they were from, and so they recruited me to play a lot of pickup ball with them over the course of the summer. And it was immediately I was drawn to the game in terms of the fundamental aspect of it, the commitment that these young women had in getting themselves better. And so I just, at that point, I was like, you know what, being on being in a program like the University of Hawaii, there's only one show in town. I'm not sure if I could ever get a break there. I would love to learn as much as I can, and I'll move and go where the job takes me. And I got to work for Vince Gu, the all-time winningest coach there at the University of Hawaii. He gave me a chance. Started out as a manager, became kind of like a graduate assistant with more responsibility on my plate, and I was able to break in there when one of the assistant coaches, John Newley, took the head coaching job at Idaho State. I bring all those names up because it's kind of, those are the kind of cornerstone pieces or people in my coaching career. Because when Vince Gu finally retired, it's John Newley who hires me over at the Idaho State University, and I go with him to University of Idaho. So those are the people I owe a lot to in my early coaching career. And it just kind of, I love what I do, so I was going to go wherever the job took me.
It's interesting to me to hear because we all have those mentors along the way, and then you're immediately placed in an opportunity where you can extend the ladder. And
Yeah.
so just kind of take me through how you thought through the hiring process and how you ended up focusing on the selection that you did.
Yeah. I think I was very fortunate, one, to already have people that, I kind of had an influence in terms of getting them on staff. Lynne has always, shared with me her, vision, thoughts, ideas. And at the same time, she's always relied on me to be able to throw my opinions out there. So when we did have vacancies in our coaching staff in the past, we'd always talk, and she'd always say, who would you think? Or, and so these are the names, Jordan Sullivan, Morgan Bailey. Those names came out of my mouth when those openings were there. So I felt like, wow, I actually have the opportunity to work with people that I would already pick if I started from square one and started from scratch. So I felt I was already ahead in the game that way. And then, Ryan Larson, a person in the profession that I've respected so much, was at the University of Wyoming at the time. Not only was it the proximity close enough, but I do believe that the challenge for him in terms of moving up a level from the Mountain West to the Big 12, that could have been enticing to lure him here. And the qualities that he has, I think he balances me out. He's a very stoic, calm, great demeanor, or I can get a little loud and passionate. And So you can't have too many of those on the bench. But I've just always respected his profession, his professionalism, his knowledge of the game, understanding, and just him being able to dive into the relationship building between the student athletes and himself. So it just was a no-brainer for me, and I was glad he accepted the job, because if not, it would have put more on my plate that I had to deal with, and I was already still trying to manage the new. So one less thing I had to worry about when I got him here.
Really interesting. And again, it's so fascinating to me, the dynamics of individual coaching staffs and figuring out where balances happen. And, so what's fascinating too is the extent to which you guys have managed to not miss a beat as you're doing it. So we're going to be back in segment 2 talking more about that, because people would have understood, but that's not how it's happening. So excited to get into more of that. Gavin Petersen of Utah is here. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel. And FanDuel has this offer heading into the NFL playoffs for everything from, well, not the New York Giants I root for, but, the good teams that are still playing. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So again, you bet 5. If you win, you get $200 in bonus bets on the FanDuel app. You can check out everything: live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Visit FanDuel.com and share the betting lines that make the most sense for you. Just visit FanDuel.com today. Get the $200 in bonus bets. All you need is that $5 bet. Too bad you can't bet against the Giants, because that turned out to be very good this year, much to the dismay of my family. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Yeah, rough times in Jersey here, Gavin. But so we're back talking to Gavin Petersen at Utah. And for those of you who thought, oh, well, coach change midseason, we assume the program is in disarray. Not so much. I can't help but look at the rankings and see you there in the top 25 this week. See what you did against, among other teams, Notre Dame and Hannah Hidalgo. And I guess I wonder whether you are surprised. There's so much veteran leadership on this team. It's such a smart team, and obviously there's so much continuity with what you guys are doing. Are you surprised that it has been, at least externally, as seamless as it's been?
I would be lying if I said I didn't. I mean, it's been seamless, but I knew we'd be tested in ways maybe not kind of in between the lines, right? Like our culture, our foundation, our core principles, those are all intact. But when a change like this occurs, nobody really knows what is going to happen, how it's going to play out, where our players and their minds are at. So we really poured into our players. And I told them from the start, I'm going to lean in on you as much as I hope you lean on each other. And we've got to do it together. We're in this together. This transition is the first that I can ever recall happening. So it's like, all right, let's go and let's attack what's in front of us. So the wins and losses, to be brutally honest, like I've never given it that much thought, because it's always that 1-0 mentality. We want to win the next one. I can't even tell you what our record is. I know we've lost twice. That's kind of how I operate in my mind. And so it's interesting. And so, for us, we always say we need to celebrate a little bit more in terms of some of the big accomplishments that we've already accomplished. I need to celebrate the accomplishments that our seniors are, accomplishing, because I'm not going to get to coach them again. So those are the little things that make sure we're enjoying our journey together, and the big picture will take care of itself. And this crew, you touched on it, but it's because of their experience and because of their connectivity that we're able to do some of these remarkable things and have the record, being able to get the attention that I think this team deserves and finally be ranked. So I think that's a credit to our senior leadership on our team.
I know it's just normal for her now, but Gianna Kneepkens on pace right now for a 50-40-90 season. The free throws were already stellar, but now, to take it to this Elena Deladon level, what is it that has made her even more efficient in a way that I don't think it would have been realistic to expect of anyone.
I think that's just who she is. She puts so much time into her game in the off season. I mean, even when she was injured and coming back from an injury, it's like she's in a boot. She's working on her ball handling skills. She's sitting down. She's shooting. Like you could not keep her out of the gym. And so I think that's just in her DNA. She has that professional basketball player mentality already. And I think that's only going to get better the older she gets, the stronger she gets. There's things I see her on a daily basis, so I keep, getting on her for her weaknesses. And from afar, it's like people are like, "Well, what are those?" And I see her every day, so I just keep trying to push the envelope with her. But she's so efficient. She doesn't waste a lot of energy. She knows what a good shot for her is and what a great shot for her teammate is, and she's unselfish. And then I love the fact that people are, once again, before the injury, she was getting a lot of attention. And I love to see that she's getting that attention again because she is a phenomenal player. Our program changed. The trajectory of our program changed when players like herself stepped into a Utah uniform.
It is, you talked about knowing where a great shot is. And I know that's so central to what this team is and what it can do. I just, for listeners at home, I do this every time Lynne was on the show, I talked about this too. Is my favorite thing is I go to CBB Analytics and I just like revel in the shot charts, and the fact that you guys are at 2.9% of your attempts that are either not outside the arc or in the paint. 2.9%. You talked about now looking at wins and losses. Do you have a goal that's somehow better than even last year? You were at 3.5 last year, which is still pretty good, to put it mildly. But I mean, it is the goal. Like, do you want to get to a point where it's only at the rim or behind the arc? Like, is that even warranted?
Yeah, no, that's not talked about, not even discussed. It is something. It's a shot in basketball that you're going to have to take them eventually. We just take them at a lower rate, and we have players who can make those shots. We practice them every day. That's how we warm up. We do a lot of rhythm shooting. We do a lot of progressions with our pick and roll scoring. So it's in the arsenal. The fact is that we have such unselfish players that they will pass up a mid-range jump shot because they see out of the corner of their eye a wide open teammate. And they know that that open three-pointer is the best shot we possibly can get, and we're going to take it. And so it just speaks to the unselfishness of the type of players that we have. But yeah, we're mid-range jump shot. Maye took a little floater to help us beat St. Joe's. I mean, you're going to have to take them eventually. We practice them. And like I said, I think it's just a credit, and it kind of tips you off to the type of unselfish basketball players we have here at Utah.
I mean, I've said this before. It just, to watch you guys play is such a pleasure. And you're right, by the way, you made 46% of your mid-range shots last year. So it wasn't in the arsenal, but it's always in pursuit of that shot. For people who study offense, it's obviously something that is not just a joy, but also a place to learn. But the other part, and that I think is really significant to me, is that your defense has been not talked about as much. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody, but you guys are 35th in the country right now in defensive points per possession so far. And that number has stayed static through your early Big 12 play. And I'm just wondering what you're seeing defensively and whether you think there is a higher ceiling for this team on that end of the floor this year.
Well, I learned something new today. I do think our team, they really do buy into our game planning. They really buy into our system and our style, in which what we do on the defensive end. And I honestly, I've said this a few times when people have asked, like, why do I think our defense has gotten to another level? I honestly think it's probably just a byproduct of, me being the head coach now. But before that, they heard my voice all the time on the defensive end. So now I have to manage our offense and get us, in certain play calls, look at opportunities to score the basketball, what we want to run, what's our game plan offensively. So they might not hear my voice as much, but I think it goes back to that experience. Because they're not hearing my voice, that doesn't mean they don't know what I'm expecting. So I think they take it upon themselves, led with Ines Vieira, Kennedy McQueen, Maddie Wilkie, and Jenna Johnson, Gianna Kneepkens. Like, they're all just kind of, they know what we want, they know what we're expecting, and they're just going out there and doing it. And I think that's been the biggest difference, is the fact that they know it. They also know that I have more on my plate, so they're taking the responsibility to kind of lead it from within.
You're seeing them with steal percentages north of 2%. It isn't as much, other than Maya, it's not as much about blocking shots, but it's very much a team built around, it seems like, connectivity and, having that type of ability to be able to have players stay. I think that says a couple of things. It talks about the way in which your coaching staff has related to people, to the way in which Utah is a place where people are happy and comfortable. But I think you're also seeing the results on the floor as well. So it's interesting. And that's an interesting segue and useful into segment 3, which we'll be back to right after this break. I want to talk about the future and the ceiling of this Utah program, which I don't think people talk about enough. So I'm Howard Megdal here with Gavin Petersen, and you are listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Prize Picks, and basketball season is heating up, as you all know here. And there's no better way to get real money action by watching your favorite teams than with Prize Picks. Prize Picks doesn't just have women's basketball. Prize Picks also has a league. I have it written down. It's called the NBA. National Basketball Association. It's a pro league where men can play too. And then we support that. Men should also, whenever you get the opportunity between women's basketball games, go check it out. PrizePicks gives you the opportunity to pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whatever your hunch, whether it's about LeBron or Luka or anyone across the country, PrizePicks lets you make your prediction and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, $50 instantly with your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Turns out, in LA, there's a team, there's 2, in fact, the Lakers and the Clippers. And so, I guess they play in the same general area as the Sparks. They probably don't get the attention that the Sparks do. That's okay. But good luck to them, right? Good luck to them. So back here with Gavin Petersen at Utah, talking about this program. And so, all right, just to sort of set the scene here. You're moving into the Big 12, one of the true power conferences. As sad as I am, I'm sure a lot of people are about the Pac-12, one of the winners of realignment, and you guys are there. And now this is a program with NIL support. This is a program that has a legacy that you are building on. What is the ceiling? How do you define success when you're having that conversation about the job and just the way you think of it, big picture here at Utah?
Yeah, I think, with what Lynne and myself, what we established here and what our goals were together, that really doesn't change. We were in pursuit to put this program in a place where we felt it could compete to get to a Final Four. Mm-hmm. And we got to a Sweet 16. Well, now we want to get to an Elite 8. Like, we just want to continue to do more. We always talked about after the end of every season, when we reflected and looked back, there were a lot of firsts that were done in our women's basketball program. And it's a tradition-rich program, one in which Elaine Elliott had tons of success in the WAC and the Mountain West. And then so when we navigated the transition through the Pac-12, now the Big 12, I feel like we've gotten it back to where nationally people know and kind of understand, like, oh, yeah, Utah basketball, they play this style of play. There's kind of some recognition throughout the country now, and that's exciting. So, my job here now is to try to continue that legacy that we've already established And again, I think in terms of a goal, yeah, we want to get to a Final Four one day. And we're going to recruit to that. And we're going to get kids in here that are going to also enhance our culture and be the type of players, the type of people that have made this program a success over the last 9 seasons. So we're not going to, go away from the formula, but we do want to continue to do firsts here at the University of Utah.
Matter of when, not if, as far as I'm concerned. Really interesting to see, and delighted that after a trip at Iowa State, I'm sure you get to come home and have a nice easy game against, I'm just gonna check it. 15-1 Kansas State.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no problem.
Big 12 is relentless, but you guys are a big reason why. So Gavin Petersen, thank you for taking the time to share this with us. To our listeners, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We will be back with you tomorrow. We talk to Juju Watkins and Lindsay Gottlieb. We're going to share some of that with you. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Tuesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.